This episode is powered by Celsius. Now, whether you're in the gym or you're on the run or, hey, you're just doing a podcast, grab yourself a can of Celsius and live fit. So this is a shameless pitch for Strong New York, September 27th, right at the Glass House on 48th and 12th Avenue. We are throwing the biggest fitness and wellness event this city has ever seen. Every year it gets bigger and bigger. This year we'll have 5,000 people, 80 plus brands, and you will be there. So make sure you get your tickets at strongnewyork.com. It's that simple. Welcome back to another episode of the Strong New York podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Santucci. And as always, like every episode, we are powered by Celsius. So go grab yourself one and live fit. Today, my very special guest is a incredible doctor here in New York City. And if you don't know who he is, well, you'll probably get to know him on this episode and you'll see him around town because his company, Extension Health, is blowing up. He's a double board certified anesthesiologist and pain management doctor. But on top of that, he runs a clinic, Extension Health, that specializes in longevity, which we are going to discuss today, as well as peptide therapy and hormones and all the things that are so relevant right now. And everybody is asking me questions because just as recent as yesterday, I put up a post on Instagram of what my body looked like when I was drinking and my hormones were all screwed up. My thyroid was screwed up. I was having severe back pain. I was going through it. And then I put up a picture from about 2 months ago when I was pretty lean and I was working out. So without further ado, Dr. Jonathann Kuo. How we doing?
Kenny, hey.
I've been waiting on this podcast for quite some time because
me too.
I found you like I find most men on the internet. Scrolling through Instagram and I slid into your DMs and I saw you were doing a treatment on Troy Aikman.
Yes.
And it was, could you explain what was actually going on? Because you said you were removing the hard metals from his body. And I was like, wow, that sounds incredible. Especially somebody who lives here in New York and break dust and all the pollution that's here that we're constantly breathing in. And people don't think it has a big effect on us, but it actually does. So explain to us what you were doing with Troy Aikman.
Yeah, I mean, with Troy, that was something called plasmapheresis or therapeutic plasma exchange. Right, that's a procedure where we're actually physically taking out your blood. You can think of it as kind of like cleaning your blood or washing your blood. We take out 2 liters of plasma from your blood. We actually save the cells, discard 2 liters of the plasma, and the plasma is what contains a lot of the pro-aging factors, a lot of the heavy metals and gunk that your body cannot excrete over time. Mm-hmm. And so this is a process where we're physically removing that. Yeah.
I mean, and now how long is that procedure and like, what does that cost for the average person?
It is a pretty involved procedure. The cost of that are around $10,000. All right. And so it can be helpful in kind of removing inflammatory mediators, reducing your biological age, and also just lowering your kind of toxic load. Mm-hmm. However, it's it's one of the therapies that actually has the most kind of data-backed evidence behind it.
Really? Yeah. So I just think there's a lot of buzzwords that are flying around on social media. There's a lot of stuff that people don't understand. We've had other doctors talk about peptides and hormones because this has become very relevant. Why do you think it's so out there right now? Is it social media? Is it becoming more common? Or did the FDA kind of drop their guard a little bit with a lot of this stuff? What's going on within the medical field that this has become so, hot topic and people are doing it now more than ever before?
Yeah, I mean, it's the cat's out of the bag, right? I mean, the cat's out of the bag because the things work. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a natural progression of things. I mean, we've been using peptides clinically for like 3 or 4 years at this point, treating thousands of patients. Like, at a certain point, like we've basically almost transitioned all of our kind of traditional medical cases into kind of treating them using peptides and regenerative medicine. And so that is, I believe, the future of medicine. Why is it such a hot topic these days? It's knowledge is being dispersed and people are learning about things that actually work. We do know that peptides are quite effective with a very limited side effect profile. So, yeah.
So your transition from being a anesthesiologist and a pain management doctor into this world of peptides. So and I tell this story a lot and I want people to pay attention to it. Back in 2020, I woke up one morning, severe back pain, couldn't move. I had no idea what was going on. went to go see doctor after doctor. I think I had told you this story, but
Yeah.
every doctor wanted to cut my back open, fuse my spine. And I said to them, I go, but I didn't do anything to my back. So I don't understand how you think curing this with some sort of structural plan is going to help me fix what's going on. I felt it was either some neurological issue or some muscular issue that I was dealing with. And when I had went to a doctor, they were like, we need to do a CAT scan. They took a CAT scan of my brain and they saw that I had this cyst on my pituitary gland. And they said, this might be the cause of your pain. You should start with testosterone therapy. I was so against it. Finally met my doctor, Dr. Kristen. I've had her on the show before.
Yeah.
And she had walked me through it. And for me, being a gym guy my whole life, I've obviously admired guys who were taking testosterone and all different types of, PEDs, if you want to call them. But I never did it myself. I never wanted to do it. I never wanted to rely on something else. I finally took the plunge. I started taking testosterone. And within 5 to 6 weeks, I just started to feel so much better.
Oh.
My mood changed. Everything improved. Why is it that this, whether it's GLP-1s or testosterone or peptides, they're helping people. They're working for people. Why do we demonize them? Why is it looked at as such a horrible thing? If you're like, well, you're doing this. I mean, anything that you do, whether you're eating too much or you're drinking too much or you're taking too many of anything, it's going to be bad. But in the doses that are given to you by a doctor, it's pretty safe, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, all these things do need to be taken into clinical with clinical guidance. Okay. But yes, I mean, the perception of these things should obviously change. Everyone could benefit from better hormones, having you be metabolically controlled on GLP-1s. That should not be demonized. All right. Like men do need testosterone support. Women do need hormonal support. It is well established in the medical literature these days that is like the optimum kind of way to go. So it's a change in public perception that needs to happen. I don't think things need to be demonized anymore. It's also our jobs as physicians to kind of go out there and say, hey, you know what? I think most men after a certain age should be on some kind of physiological testosterone support, whether that's, through HCG or enclomiphene or actually doing testosterone. And most people actually should be on a GLP-1. That's my stance. Yeah.
I agree with you. And I think the GLP-1s help regulate people's hormones. And I think it helps people kickstart their fitness journey and helps them look better and feel better.
Really?
Do you guys look at a lot of this stuff as curing the what we have going on now with depression and anxiety? Do you see a lot of these drugs helping with that stuff as well?
We actually do. And it's not only us seeing it, the clinical literature actually demonstrates that as well. There are actually several studies out there that show that GLP-1s are effective for mood disorders even. By regulating your metabolism, by regulating inflammation, by lowering those levels, you can actually make positive changes in your physiology that are very much linked to anxiety and depression. All right.
Yeah. For somebody who used to be fat, and even like I just put up this picture of me, everybody's like, oh, you were always in shape. I was like, no, I put up a picture of myself in 2019 and I looked like a woman in her second trimester.
Yeah.
Right. I had a good set of tits on me. My belly was sticking out pretty far. And there was a level of like angst I felt taking off my shirt. I didn't look good in the mirror. And taking the testosterone kind of helped me boost my mood a little bit. But what would you say is the age appropriate for people to start taking testosterone or peptides or anything like that?
I mean, great question. That is really based on an individual's kind of response and desires and also their lab work. We reach a physiological peak around 25 to 30. Okay. And after that age, the body's natural organ systems and the amount of hormones and peptides that you produce naturally decreases at that point. Okay. And so, early 30s, mid 30s is already a place where you can already start thinking about these things, considering these things. with testosterone replacement therapy, you obviously do have to consider your, sperm count and childbearing status, as if you start therapeutic testosterone replacement, your body does shut down its endogenous production of testosterone. So that is a major consideration that you do need to think about. However, there are many other ways to kind of boost your T levels without using actual replacement testosterone. Human chorionic gonadotropin is a good example of that. HCG, which we use clinically quite a bit, just stimulates your body to produce a little more. Same concept with peptides. Stimulate your body to produce a little more of something that it was already naturally producing. And so, that's how peptides, are beneficial to our various physiological systems.
So I was sitting at a dinner a couple weeks ago. A gentleman I had on the show, he runs these men's dinners, and we went up to Westchester, and I was sitting at a table like 6 other guys, and we were talking about what? Oh. So the one gentleman had said, he's like, I'm going through some issues right now. Me and my wife are trying to have a kid, but I've been on testosterone for about 4 or 5 years now, and this has been a problem for me trying to have a kid.
Yeah.
I think he's trying the Clomid.
Okay.
Do you have to come off? I mean, take me through that, because I've been on it for about 3 years.
Okay.
So take me through, like, you have to come off it. You start taking the Clomid, and then how long? I mean, I'm guessing everybody's a little different.
Yeah. I
6
mean,
to
the
12
most,
months.
I would say, depending on how long you've been on T for, and whether you've also been on, if you haven't been on any HCG during that period of time, like your testicles probably have suppressed quite a bit of their production. It will take, I would say, 6 to 12 months. It could take that long to kind of slowly get that back. And then, yes, you would use something like HCG to kind of get that back. Okay. Like human chorionic gonadotropin, a few thousand units, 5,000 units, 3 times a week kind of thing, to slowly drive that production back up. But those are reversible changes in most of the cases. And a lot of people these days, young men that do want to actually start doing TRT itself, I do recommend that you actually just go out and freeze your sperm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw this morning that you were you took some stuff before your workout.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yes. I mean, those are various mitochondrial enhancers. So the things that I'm kind of, using these days and kind of experimenting, SLU-PP332, which is an estrogen receptor activator, kind of, has some metabolic mitochondrial benefits. And then I also took something called MOTS-C. Okay, MOTS-C is a mitochondrial enhancer. You can think of it as basically adding a little juice to your batteries of your mitochondria. And so we use a lot of these peptides clinically in practice.
Are these newer peptides?
MOTS-C has been around for a little while. SLU-PP332 is something that's a little newer, sloppy. You'll probably hear about it more and more these days, but it can really boost and enhance performance.
Yeah, it seemed like you were in a pretty good mood this morning. I was like, oh. So would you recommend, is that something that you would take daily? How do you take that?
Everything I cycle, it's like I don't really tend to love taking anything on a daily basis, right? Like, you like your body's receptors to kind of be seeing different things all the time, right? Because your body sees the same thing over and over. There's always a little feedback attenuation loop. And so I like just switching things up a lot. And so we kind of design programs for patients and also for myself. I kind of like vary around my tactics based on what my goals are for the day. So, yeah.
Have you had any adverse effects to any of this stuff? Like, have you ever taken any peptides or anything and been like, oh, shouldn't have taken that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, when you take a little too much of a GLP-1, you will feel awful.
It's like stomach pain.
Awful. Right? Yeah. Nauseous, just like reflux, constipation. Like, yeah, I've overdosed on GLP-1s.
Really?
Yeah. I've, taking too much NAD will make you feel awful.
So the first time I got NAD, probably like 3-4 years ago, a buddy of mine's like, dude, you got to get on NAD. So it was like when they were basically giving it to you through an IV.
Yeah.
And it was like 4 days in a row for like 2 hours at a time.
Yeah.
It was miserable.
Yeah.
It felt like somebody standing on your chest the whole time.
Yeah. NAD IVs, over. You know what? The new thing, Niagen. Just use Niagen, right? It's a precursor to NAD. Gets your NAD levels even higher. Doesn't hurt. Takes 20 minutes. Like, boom.
Just as effective.
Yeah, just as effective. So we do Niagen IVs at the clinic, and then you do NAD sub-Q, which I like. You know, I do NAD sub-Q. You can cycle that with a little MOT-C and SS31 for that kind of a whole mitochondrial cycle. Those are like kind of nice little protocols. They can just give you a little more energy, clean up your mitochondria a little bit. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've heard so many times, especially because I take testosterone and other people tell me, you know, I take it twice a week. They take it twice a week. I take it once a week. What's your recommended dose for most people? Like, do you say, hey, you should take it twice a week, split the dose, you know, because it distributes throughout the week, or do you do just one shot?
That's honestly very much dependent on how compliant a person is. All right. If you can only remember to do it once a week, then do it. You're going to get better physiological response with a nice, smoother double hump curve twice a week than you will with a one bigger hump that kind of goes down a little slower.
Okay.
Testosterone cyprinate has a certain half-life. Once a week dosing, you'd probably be okay, or it's kind of like meant for that. But ideally, yes, twice a week. You know, there's some people out there like, okay, inject it every single day. Yes, you get the best steady state, but you know, is that fun to stick a T needle every single day?
No.
Not as much. Peptide needles are much smaller, right? I mean, I inject myself multiple times a day. Not a lot of people have an appetite to do that, right? But I don't know. As you kind of get into it and you get used to it, I've been doing this for many years. And so at this point, I kind of look forward to it, you know? Yeah.
So I ran into you.
Shots, yeah.
I ran into you at the Brian Johnson event. In Die Summit.
Yeah.
So you guys were there. You spoke on stage with him.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on everything that he's doing?
Oh boy. Listen, I mean, I, you know, I like the fact that he's promoting health and wellness to kind of a broader audience. Yes, absolutely. Sleep, very much, very, very important. Nutrition. You know, those things, you know, he does have the right message across there. Okay. I think I'm just going to leave it as that. Right. As in.
Yeah. I've said, listen, I appreciate the fact that he uses himself as like a guinea pig. He's like, hey, I'm doing all this stuff.
Yes.
Not everyone has to do it. But like, if you take a little bit, and this is what I've said to a lot of people, I go, I'm not going to go do what he does. One, I don't have the money to do it. And two, it's like, it seems fucking miserable. So for me, I'm like, I like his message. He's got a lot of people thinking about a lot of things they should be considering.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go out and live my life like that. I mean, I feel like he's just not living life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. Hey, listen, I mean, exactly. Life is to be lived. Some of the things that he does, you know, are, yes, they are very effective. Okay. The therapeutic plasma exchange that we talked about, the fall set and gene therapy, I do believe works. Things like, you know, he's not necessarily on peptides, but
I think the thing that shocks people the most, people, they're like, oh, the whole vampire thing, like the blood, taking the blood from his son and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, is that just, would the medical field see that as unethical, or like what, how does the FDA look at that?
It's young plasma transfusion is a thing. Okay. They actually do that in Texas. Like, it's not really done in any other states. Like, you know,
anything flies.
I just don't, you know, I don't necessarily think that's necessary. Like, you just, the way we do it, you just replace with saline and albumin. I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm not going to wade into the ethical considerations and stuff. I mean, okay, guys, you know, young guys can go and donate plasma and get paid for that. And if old, richer dudes want to take that plasma,
you might as well
go ahead
to do it.
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah.
So when did you start the Extension Health?
Extension Health was, you know, I've been in practice 16 years. Extension Health has been around for like 6 or 7 years. We kind of renamed it, rebranded it Extension Health, but it's been a steady evolution of a, you know, I started off in interventional pain management, got into regenerative medicine, always kind of like looking for the root causes, root sources of pain. That got me into peptides. that got me into like interventional mental health. I was doing a lot of these shots in the neck for people for PTSD, anxiety, and stuff like that. That kind of fits into the whole picture.
What type of shots were they?
We do something called the neuro reset. Okay. The neuro reset is a shot in the neck, basically resets your nervous system. All right. Resets your fight or flight response by blocking and resetting the sympathetic nervous system.
Mhm.
And then I do something very special, which is a vagus nerve injection. All right. We actually take a look under ultrasound. It's the vagus nerve, runs next to the carotid artery,
Mhm.
and we actually inject the vagus nerve. When we inject the vagus nerve, the theory behind that is to improve the health of the vagus nerve, to improve the resilience and function of the vagus nerve. And so, taking kind of classic pain management techniques where you do, hydrodissections and put fluid next to a nerve to improve the function of a nerve for kind of in pain. You do the same for the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is that largest cranial nerve that's involved in the brain-gut communication and responsible for your immune system, responsible for all the kind of rest and relax parasympathetic functions of the body. You want to improve that highway of information. And so you inject that with a little combination of dextrose, we add peptides, sometimes we add exosomes. This is something that still we're investigating, all right? We have an IRB-approved study now that we're enrolling patients to see what in vagus nerve hydrodissection does in isolation.
When I was going through the back pain stuff,
Yeah.
I had read John Sarno's book. I had looked into different alternative medicines. I was trying to figure out what was actually going on. Through some of the research, I found that like 70% of adults over the age of 30 will have some form of back pain.
Yeah.
And so many times, even now with all the information out there and everything that's going on, I still run into people who are like, I'm going to go get surgery. I need to have my back fused. And I'm like, whoa, what did you do to your back? Like, you didn't have any trauma, right? Like, why would you go have your back fused? How much of these surgeries have you seen that are being done that can be cured with peptides and hormone therapy and things like that? Like, there wasn't really anything wrong, Like, I know I've had clients, and I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I'm going to get some shit for this, but there have been, there's countless amounts of clients of mine that have come in and like, I'm going to get shoulder surgery. I'm like, hold on, before you go get shoulder surgery, give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks to try to figure it out through exercise and mobility and movement and hips, knees, ankles, all this stuff. And, there are people that I've stopped from getting a surgery when they didn't really need it. Yeah. And I think like you probably see this on a daily basis.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's, like before you consider surgery, like always consider the regenerative medicine and peptide routes, okay? Because they can be very effective. Obviously, if this is a chronic injury, you do need to fix the biomechanical kind of, what's going on actually in the background to cause that. Yeah. If it's like a trauma related, that's different, okay? But yes, therapy, exercise, but peptides can really help. Regenerative medicine, we have definitely seen help. Something that's a little controversial, like you can probably prevent the vast majority of surgeries with regenerative medicine, okay? And I really do see that as a thing. Unless things are way too advanced, there's still definitely certain indications for a surgery, all right? But if you can catch a disease or a condition early enough, you can prevent that and even potentially reverse that with regen medicine and peptides. The body is very smart.
I was seeing somebody had sent me an article about cancer prevention with exercise and peptides and things like that.
No.
I'm guessing this is something that you guys are heavily invested in and kind of looking into a little bit. Like, is this, I didn't read the full article, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
What do we,
Cancer is a tricky one, okay? It's like cancer thrives under chaos, all right? Like when the body is dysregulated, when the systems are not working smoothly. Peptides help your physiology work better, all right? Better regulated, less inflammation. It just, when your physiology is working better, when your cells are communicating, where your blood flow and oxygen, everything is working the right way. Less chaos, less cancer, All right. I'm not going to tie the direct, like, peptides can prevent cancer.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to say that.
Mhm.
All right. But when all of your physiological systems are working well in balance, that's when your body works optimally. And that's, you know, cancer thrives in chaos. That's what I'll say for that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing a lot of people are having the best results with, right? There's a lot that we had kind of thrown out there,
Yeah.
right? The plasma injections and the TRT. Like, what do you recommend the average, somebody who's kind of just milling through life,
Yeah.
doesn't feel great. They're going to the gym, but not really getting good results.
Yeah. Easiest, lowest hanging fruit. Like, get your bloods done, check out your hormones,
Mhm.
check out your inflammation, and try to fix those things. Okay. And just get on a basic peptide program. All right. Hormones need to be fixed for both men and women,
Mhm.
and basic peptides. Basic peptides, you kind of think of the broad categories. All right. Most people benefit from a GLP-1. Most people benefit from the recovery and inflammation category, the BPC-TB4s. Okay. Most people benefit from a little mitochondrial enhancer. And so you kind of pick one from each. Most people benefit from a little growth hormone boost. And so a simple combination, a little cocktail of 2 or 3 peptides, usually people will see results from that. All right. Also, just making sure your hormones are optimized. Pretty simple things that you can do.
Do you think this is just a U.S. issue because our food system's so shit, or are people adopting this all over the world?
The other countries are slower to adopt.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in Europe. Those systems are even slower than ours, and the thought processes are even more conservative than ours are. So it's all getting out there.
Mhm.
Okay. And this is going to be a 5-10 year process, but we will be seeing that quite live.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
You would think I'd feel like some place like Russia and Germany they would have adopted this before us.
Yeah.
They were
Well, peptides, all the original research came from Russia.
Yeah.
Back
I feel
with
like
Kavinson in the 80s. And so,
I watched Rocky. I saw what happened.
yeah, he was the OG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was using all that shit before anybody was.
Totally.
So I'm gonna throw a couple out there.
Yeah.
And I want you to rate the peptide or the hormone therapy
Sure.
1 to 10.
Okay.
Okay. So 10 being the best and 1 being the worst.
Oh boy.
Okay. So we're gonna go with
Okay.
GLP-1s.
Okay. I mean, 8.5.
Nice.
Okay. As in, there's more future generation GLP-1s coming out. There's that 3rd generation triple agonist, retatrutide. We've used that quite a bit. I love that drug. All right. We microdose that for longevity. Guess what? Every single person on the planet could probably be on a microdose retatrutide just for those metabolic benefits. There's 4th generation, 5th generation ones coming out that also target just several other additional receptors at once. So some of these super drugs are coming out that I'm quite excited for. Yeah.
Hopefully my mom is actually listening to this. She is so scared. I want her. She's 74 years old.
Yeah.
She's overweight. She comes to the gym every day at my gym in New Jersey. And I said, I think you could benefit from taking a little GLP-1 or, oh no, that'll kill me. I'm like, I don't think there's any research or any instances where people are dying just sporadically from GLP-1. Like,
Listen, I mean, there's every medication has a potential side effect. All right. But in this case, it's just, the risks and the benefits really far outweigh the risks. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you can definitely get into trouble, lose muscle mass, like all these things if you are not under.
If you're not working out, but if you're working out, it's the best thing for you.
It is. It really is. And my thing is just lowering inflammation. Okay. Like baseline, they lower inflammation. Inflammation is a driver of all the chronic diseases. Cancer, the diabetes, the neurodegenerative, the cardiovascular, the 4 horsemen of chronic disease, chronic inflammation. GLP-1s address that. Simply, GLP-1s can just lower the incidence of all those things. And the studies show that.
Yeah. All right. Next up, TRT.
Yeah. TRT is going to be it's going to be a 10, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm glad I'm on it.
This is, your body needs hormones to function optimally.
Yeah.
Men and women. There's just no question about that. Your body produces less over time. You should replace it over time. There's just what question really is there, right? You want to function optimally, you just need to replace the levels that you were producing when you were younger. Period.
When I first started taking it, the first couple months, I felt so good. I feel good now. I don't even want to know what I would feel like if I was off it. Like that's my biggest fear is like coming off it. Or I was angry. I was upset. And I think chronic pain, we get used to living with it. But there are definitely times where it's like you're cranky, you're in a bad mood. It's like I had to crawl out of bed every morning. Yeah. It was a horrible way to live. I was like, I'm never going to be able to run again. You know, there were all these things that everybody's like, oh, it's your back, it's your back, it's your back. I'm like, I don't think it's my back. I'm feeling it in my back.
Yeah. You know? Crazy, right? I'm a pain management specialist. And like, you know, how many chronic pain specialists out there are checking T levels? Very, very few.
Yeah.
Okay. And so like, yes, you know, in your case, fixing your T levels really, really helped with your back pain, or at least gave you the strength and the motivation and the energy to go out and you know, do the therapy and all the things that you needed to do to get rid of your back pain, right? So, so critically important. But, you know, how many doctors out there are actively, hey, let's fix your hormones? Like, you know, in a standard PCP visit, like, you know, people are not really looking at T levels as a standard at all, really. And the ranges of normal, like you can have a T level in the 300s, that's considered normal, right? Normal's not optimal, right?
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. I've definitely been to chiropractors and physical therapists who are like, oh, let me just crack your back, or they throw you on a table and they put electric stim therapy on. And you're like, as soon as somebody does that, I'm like, this guy's fucking operating in the 90s. It's like, what are you doing? You know? So I always stay clear of those guys. What about estrogen?
Estrogen for women?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, estrogen is one of those hormones that, perimenopausal, menopausal, like you would want to watch your levels, you know, monitor that. And yes, women should be on some kind of estrogen replacement as needed. All women, bioidentical estrogen, creams, gels, stuff like that. Bioidentical progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone.
Is there an
very important testosterone?
Is there an age that some women should start to get on this?
You should start monitoring and watching your labs in the late 30s. Yeah,
late 30s.
Late 30s.
You hear that, Chris? Yeah. You're 36. It's your late 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. Get your hormones level checked. You know.
Yeah. You hear that? Yeah. What was the next one I had? Stem cell.
Stem cells is way up there. Okay. It's 8 or 9 out of 10. Right?
Really?
8 or 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so much development in that field. You know, Florida just passed a law like stem cells are going to kind of be legal in Florida starting next month, which is kind of crazy. I'm a little scared there too. Okay.
What's the fear?
I mean, it's you know.
See, I don't know much about them.
Yeah. Okay. When you kind of let the floodgates loose, like, you know, every other, you know, chiropractor kind of med spa is going to try to offer stem cells. And that's a scary thing to me. Okay. So
how did they get authorized to give this stuff away? Like a med spa. Like nobody there is a clinician. Nobody there is a doctor of any sort, right? And they're just like, I'll put some of this in your face and this in your ass.
Yeah, you know, those, you know, places do all these butt lifts and illegal fat transfers. I mean, there's always this, you know, shady medical undermarket world going on. You know, I believe in an adequate amount of regulation, and the FDA is there for a purpose. Okay, it is there to protect us. Are there some instances where I think they need to just be a little more advanced in their, you know, progressive in their thinking? Yes, I do. Okay. Stem cell regulation in the US has definitely lagged far behind where it should be. we'll see where this Florida thing takes us. All right. Like I've had tremendous success with stem cells.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Stem cells, exosomes being the growth factor for stem cells. You know, I've been practicing regenerative medicine for many years. We've injected thousands of patients. I can say without a doubt that stuff works. It's way better than steroids. You can fix a lot of issues with just either PRP or stem cells. Yes.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
So my next one was
Yeah.
PRP.
Yeah.
So I've been going for hair.
Hair PRP?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Great. Yeah.
And I think I want to say it works.
Yeah. Great. Great.
what's
Hair PRP
your-
should work. Yeah. Hair PRP is great. All about the concentration. PRP from your own blood only has so many growth factors.
Mhm.
Right? You want to kick it up a notch, you probably need exosomes. You know, you want to kick it up another notch, you can inject stem cells directly into your head. These days, I think a good product is you can actually pluck your hair, take the hair follicle cells.
We were going to do this.
Yeah. You can grow those cells, and then you can get your own exosome product. And then I'd inject that directly into the scalp, and then microneedle that on top.
Really?
Yeah. So we that's available now. Yeah.
All you bald fucks out there, you heard that? I think we finally got a cure because I'm scared out of my mind. The other day, just as recent as like 3 days ago, buddy of mine, his hat fell off and he's got this bald spot on the back. I'm like, dude, give it up. Shave your head. It looks terrible. You look like a fucking monk from the 1600s. Just shave it off. It looks terrible. And my biggest fear, I can't tell you how many nightmares I've had about losing my hair.
Yeah.
Because I see guys without hair and I'm just like, oh, dude, fix it. Do something.
Totally.
Put a toupee on or something.
Yeah.
So what are some other ones? What could we see coming down the pipeline? I mean, obviously in Florida, they're going to start doing stem cell.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Everybody keeps talking about these peptides that are coming out that are going to help you grow muscle tissue, but how is that possible?
I mean, yes. I mean, there's a thing that, there's a follistatin gene therapy. I'm quite experienced with that. All right. It's a plasmid based, you can think of it as continuous peptide therapy. It's a one-shot deal, lasts for around a year, and basically, introduces little circular strands of DNA that continuously produce follistatin. All right. So follistatin helps inhibit myostatin, which inhibits muscle. So long story short, follistatin helps you build muscle. All right. So follistatin gene therapy is a single shot that can just help you build muscle continuously, just help add on lean muscle mass, help improve strength. It can also decrease inflammation, has been shown to lower the biological age a little bit. Phase 2 data is coming out pretty soon. In the populations that we've seen, I would say most people actually feel a moderate increase in strength and muscle mass.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I've had a good amount of experience with. Yeah.
What about statins? So I was talking to a client of mine the other day, and he was telling me, he's like, after 40, he's like, if your LDL levels are a little too high, a statin's a great way to kind of bring those LDL levels down, and it lowers the risk. The sooner you start taking it, you lower the risk of any heart issues.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, statins, very widely studied. I've been around for 30, 40 years, like definitely prevent, cardiovascular events from happening. Do I love statins? Not really. Okay. They can cause metabolic issues. They can cause muscular issues. Like they do affect kind of the muscle kind of pathways. Okay, you can get certain myopathies on them. I think the more elegant way of lowering cholesterol is with these newer agents. All right, like the PCSK9 inhibitors, such as Repatha, or even the newer ones like inclisiran or something like that, like once a year injections that dramatically lower your ApoB and Lp(a) levels dramatically. All right, just one shot every 6 months. All right, so I prefer that as a method, a cleaner method than taking a statin that has all these potential side effects. All right. Most people don't get the side effects, but still, it's a medication that your body needs to process. Yeah.
Would you recommend someone start taking that at a certain age or start doing that at a certain age?
Ooh, I mean, that requires a discussion with your doctor. Like, you need to look at a lot of things, like your risk factors, like your family history, and what your coronary arteries actually look like. All right. So I do recommend people get a clearly, it's called a clearly scan, which is an AI coronary angiogram. All right. It's a coronary angiogram with AI analysis. And I can basically tell you exactly what you have going on in your arteries, whether there's any hard plaque, soft plaque, or whatever. Some people that have high cholesterol, if you have no evidence of any kind of plaque buildup in your arteries, I probably would not suggest that you need to go on a statin.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a nuanced discussion. All right. I'm not a cardiologist. I typically do not put people on statins. Have I put people on PCSK9s? I have. All right. Some of the peptides too. Like, when you lower inflammation, like, a lot of times, plaque buildup is because of oxidative stress. All right. And if you can do things to reduce oxidative stress in the body, you can reduce plaque formation and, think of that as preventing cardiovascular disease. So once again, linking back to that concept of, let's just try to lower the inflammation as much as you can in your body. What are the ways to do that? And that's where some of the therapies that we do at Extension Health, like, everything is kind of geared towards that kind of thought process, optimizing physiology and lowering inflammation. So whether it's plasmapheresis, whether it's ozone therapy, we do this ozone therapy, this EBOO, ozone dialysis.
Which is
whether it's ozone dialysis, it's like 2 large IVs. We run your blood through a machine, through a filter. We apply ozone to it. Ozone disinfects your blood. Okay, ozone is toxic to bacteria, fungi, viruses, and it inactivates all that stuff. Then we run it through a whole series of lights, UV lights and LED lights, charges your mitochondria. Then we return that to the body. So that just kind of gives your immune system a kick in the ass, all right? And so that can boost your mitochondrial function, kick your immune system into gear. We love using that for people that are, mold, Lyme, long COVID. Really helps with that, all right?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. We've really seen that being very beneficial for that. But even in healthy people, when you do that, it's like, I see it as exercise for the immune system. All of your systems need exercise, right? Whether it's your musculoskeletal system, your cardiovascular system, you're exercising. That's how the body kind of makes those systems more resilient. When you exercise your immune system by, a very targeted, precise doses of ozone, I feel like that helps. All right. It's immunomodulatory.
So do you see a lot of people who are taking or on a lot of these therapies and peptides and stuff, the number of times a year they get sick with a cold or something simple like that? Do you see that start to decrease as well?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. And yes, there are some peptides that I feel like you should do probably on a cyclical basis, like things like thymosin alpha-1, epidolon. I mean, the literature actually does support that, all right? The Cavinson research back in the day showed that epidolon and thymosin alpha-1 or thymulin, like, dramatically actually improved lifespan in a whole bunch of these miners that were working in Siberia, like large studies. And so, yes, should you take epidolon and TA1 twice a year? Yes, you should, all right? And that's what I do recommend. They do have immunomodulatory properties. And yes, I whenever I'm traveling or on a plane or I feel a little rundown-ish, big doses of thymosin alpha-1, also available as a nasal spray, all right? Help.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I might need some of that.
Immune defense. Yeah. Immune defense spray, or just inject yourself with, 5 milligrams of thymosin alpha-1.
So it seems like we've figured out where the fountain of youth is, and people are going to start living a little bit longer.
Totally.
What do you think that means for society, right? Like, are people going to be, having their full-time jobs at 90? Like, what do you think? What do you think this means?
Yeah, I mean, Unfortunately, it's going to be a haves and have-nots, okay? Because the people that have will enjoy the access and benefits of this, and unfortunately, a big section of the population that will not. Okay, because unfortunately, a lot of these things are still quite expensive. All right, and so,
Do you think we'll see a world where it's pretty common? It's like you buy it like you're buying Advil.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. A lot of the peptide developments, like, pretty soon, a lot of these like sublingual buccal formations of peptides are becoming really more bioavailable. So you can literally put a strip in your mouth, all right, instead of having to shoot yourself. And that's going to be really interesting to see whether that takes off or not. Yeah, I think in the future, for sure, prices will drop and this will be accessible to so many more people. Traditional pharma industry is going to put up a fight. They're not going to love seeing their, profits diminish from a lot of this stuff.
Well, but with more people using it, I think usage will go up, right? It's like the difference between a Walmart and a Gucci, right? Like there's just going to be so many more people using it. Like now it's like a luxury drug. Yeah. And now when it starts to get to the masses, it's just like the numbers alone will help it out, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for knowledge and accessibility and helping as many people as possible. So for sure, like as we develop better formulas, as this becomes more widespread, absolutely. Let's get as many people as healthy as they can be. Massive benefits to society. And yes, we are seeing, I see a lot of people very healthy now, way into their 70s, clients in their 70s are doing all these programs and all these things, sharp as a tack, still running companies, no pain. Like these things are possible, but you do have to be proactive. All right. You have to start in your 30s and your 40s, like really already very much in tune with your body, knowing your numbers, knowing your DEXA scans, knowing your inflammatory markers, knowing your hormones, like being on top of things. That's very important. Like can't play catch up. You got to think ahead.
Keep up with it.
Yeah.
So one of the wildest things I've heard in a while, when we were up at Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there for that talk, but they were talking about the cloning.
Yeah. Yeah.
The digital cloning.
Yeah.
And they were, and I was like, holy shit, this is like sci-fi movie shit. Yeah. This is like 80s, 90s sci-fi movie stuff.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the digital cloning?
I mean, I think it's probably going to exist in our lifetimes.
In the next couple of years.
Yeah. I do think, I mean,
for those
we all want a digital twin of ourselves, right? You do. And then you can actually
what happens when they turn against you?
When your twin turns against you?
They're like, no, I need my liver.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the examples they gave was totally. Hey, we'll have this digital twin.
Yeah.
For people out there who don't know what we're talking about, digital twin is basically they grow another version of you. And if, God forbid, you lose your arm or your leg or a liver or whatever it may be, they could replace it with this digital twin of you. Which is crazy. Yeah.
I mean, so the physical twin is one thing. I mean, like, can they replicate your entire brain?
Yeah.
Can they actually, as brain-computer interfaces continue to improve, as nanotechnology continues to improve, where there'll be a point where you can basically start to use nanorobots and that brain-computer interface to completely map out your entire neuronal structure and how that communicates and kind of replicate that in a digital format and basically have a lot of your thoughts and, memories and all that stuff potentially uploaded into a cloud where you have a permanent digital, cloud-based kind of version of your brain and consciousness in the cloud. Maybe that's a thing. Like maybe
ChatGPT scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it's a thing.
Yeah, we're all gonna get killed by like a Terminator version of ourselves.
The future is exciting and it's wild.
Yeah,
I mean, in the medicine realm, I think we are very close to curing a lot of chronic disease, like obesity can be cured, diabetes can be cured. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the cancer realm, with some of these like, knockout gene therapies that have shown extraordinary promise in solid tumors. And so, we're getting close to a lot of these things.
A lot
And
of
so,
chronic pain,
yeah.
right? Like arthritis and things
Mhm.
like that. That's all starting to. I mean, a lot of people used to fear being like, "Oh, I don't want to get arthritis," but now I feel like you hear about it less and less.
Well, listen, I mean, arthritis gets bad to a certain point. There's really not too much you can do. Are we beginning to kind of be able to grow cartilage and kind of replace joint structures in a, physiological format using scaffolding and stem cells and gene therapy and stuff like that? Yes,
Mhm.
yes, it's really coming around. Okay. And so, um, the future is very fascinating. And yes, already with regen medicine peptides, you can already do very well with kind of chronic pain and chronic degeneration.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a mainstay of our work. We do a lot of, intraosseous into the bone kind of injections of stem cells and stuff like that. Those things definitely work. You just got to catch it early enough. And the technology is just getting better and better. Okay. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, one of the things that I love about you is that you're like I always see video you working out, you know,
I try.
with
Yes.
with all this
Yeah.
technology and medicine coming out, there's still a need for people to exercise.
Yes.
Do you do it because you love it, because it helps you feel better, because you know it works? I mean, what's your
Yeah, no, of
what's your
course. I mean, I love exercise and I love cycling's my thing, right? Like you need to just go out and push your body to a certain limit and
Mhm.
for it to kind of just give you love back. All
Mhm.
right. And that's never going to be replaced entirely just by, medications and peptides and stuff like that. There are exercise mimetics, right? Like the SLUPP, the MOTC, like they can trick your body into pretending it's done some kind of exercise, but nothing really releases the full cascade of biochemical signals as true exercise. So learn to love exercise. Figure out something
Woo!
you love to do. Yeah.
That's our soundbite right there. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Learn to love exercise.
Yeah.
Well, doctor, thank you so much for coming by.
My pleasure. It's been
Very excited to
fun.
drop this
Yes.
episode. I can't wait for everybody out there to hear it. As always, where can everybody find you?
Dr. Kuo on Instagram, Extension Health as Extension Health on Instagram.
And then you guys have the clinic on 7th Avenue.
Our clinic is based on in the West Village.
Yep.
We're about to open another clinic
Whoa.
in Midtown.
Nice. Where?
On 60th and Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And then we are going to launch another service very soon. It's called Vitara Health.
Okay.
It's the first time I'm actually mentioning it in public.
Okay.
Longevity simplified. All right. Like,
okay. I love that.
Longevity is a very complex topic. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what do I take? What do I do? Some of the basics, we didn't even touch into this. I mean, rapamycin, metformin,
Mhm.
a low dose naltrexone, a microdose of a GLP. Some of the things that almost everyone could be on.
Are those all separate, or could you kind of take like a cocktail of that?
We have a little cocktail starter package.
Little bundle.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I
Metformin.
believe most people can benefit from that little package. Yeah.
So the metformin, I hear about it a lot.
Yeah.
Explain to me what that is.
Metformin's been around forever.
Yeah.
It's a diabetes medication.
Mhm.
Plain, straight, simple. You can think of it as just lowering your blood sugar levels, right? Lower blood sugar, lower inflammation.
Mhm.
With the advent of GLPs, I think GLPs are a much more elegant solution. But
Yeah.
guess what? Not everyone wants to poke themselves, and not everyone wants, it's also very expensive. So metformin, cheap, simple, relatively lack of side effects, has been studied quite extensively. if you want an easy option in longevity, start taking some metformin. I took it myself for many, many years. Yeah.
My last question,
Yeah.
because I wanted to bring this up before, but doesn't matter what economical class people are in, you're still seeing people gain weight and just look like shit, not take care of themselves. What do you attribute that to? Because we have more solutions than ever before. There's a gym on every corner.
Yeah.
There's information all over the internet. How the fuck are we still going backwards?
I mean, our yeah, our food system is pretty screwed up, all right? Like, our very kind of like this ultra processed, cheap, addictive foods that, cause a lot of metabolic inflammation and weight gain, stuff like that. It's just with these drugs and the accessibility of things, like there's really no reason to be
overweight
or out of shape anymore. Let's just, you gotta get it. You gotta get it together. Get it together.
I feel like you have the food industry, which is this unstoppable force, versus the immovable object, which is the medical system. And they're just kind of ping-ponging this back and forth. It's like, we're going to create foods that get people addicted, and we're going to keep people, healthy and continuing to do drugs. And it's just like this.
Yeah, totally. For too long. But I think that's, we're making headway into that. And, more people are knowing how to be healthier these days with easier, more accessible tools. And, hopefully these kind of entrenched interests, will kind of start breaking the mold and reducing the burden of chronic disease and obesity that the typical U.S., population is faced with, right? Yeah.
Well, I said that was my last question, but I have one more. Your thoughts on psychedelics?
Oh, I love psychedelics, right? I love psychedelics.
Me too. Me too. I never thought I'd be like a psychedelic guy.
Yeah.
But it just puts me in a better mood.
Yeah. Psychedelics, psilocybin, very good as an antidepressant. Microdosing it improves cognitive function. The higher doses open up your mind, like give you new insights. They improve neuroplasticity. Ketamine, not a typical psychedelic, but also very, very useful in the right clinical situations for mood, for depression. One of the most rapid antidepressants, prescribed as a sublingual or a nasal spray, can really replace alcohol in a lot of social settings with much less harm. All right. Ketamine still is a dangerous substance if you abuse it. You can abuse ketamine just like you can abuse anything else. So it's not without its risks. But when you kind of like take a look at it next to alcohol, like much prefer ketamine over alcohol. And so I say, people look at, we prescribe sublingual ketamine for people with anxiety. It really helps with that. People use it to meditate. People use it for deep introspective journeys. I find it a very useful medication. So are all the other ones, all right? LSD, 5-MeO, ibogaine, all these things, MDMA. Those are not real psychedelics. Those are just other kinds of classified illegal molecules by the government. But, when used appropriately, they really do all have clinical purposes. And, eventually the rules and regulations will catch up to that fact.
No, I've definitely microdosed psilocybin a couple times.
Yeah.
And I haven't taken enough to go on one of these trips or journeys or gone into another brain somewhere. I've just done enough to put me in a better mood.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I just want the minimal amount. I just want to uplift the way I feel right now. And it's great for that.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for vouching for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
The combination of things like MDMA and psilocybin in guided, kind of facilitated journeys, okay, can be profoundly therapeutic. I just do want to mention that, even though that's not something that is actually illegal these days, if you have an opportunity to do that, it can be a really profound, life-changing experience.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was I found somebody up in Westchester. I just haven't had a 3 or 4 day span to go and check that out, but that's definitely on the menu for sure.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you as always for checking out the Strong New York podcast. As always, like, subscribe, share with a friend. And Doc, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
This was awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have you at Strong New York this year.
Absolutely.
And we
so
could
looking forward.
continue this conversation. Do you have any plans to write a book? I feel like you should write a book.
I would love to write a book. Yeah.
I think we got to set that up.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you so much. As always, I'll see you soon.
Thank you.